Hello, and welcome to Garblag Games, where once again we're playing Lex Arcana, Spectres of the Past. And these fine gentlemen below me are going to be playing. I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Aaron, because you're the furthest away from me. And for some reason, I put you all in alphabetical order. There you go.
That's fair. Hey everybody, I am Aaron, and today I will be playing Eleko Casimir, or better known to his friends as Kaza. He is a Lycerium fighter and is joined as part of the Custodes, sort of as a legacy, because his father was a centurion in the out in the outskirts at the very edge of the empire. So he was raised as a soldier, and because he did well with a supernatural encounter, survived it, and didn't go mad, he was recruited into the Custodes to help deal with these threats as they arise across the empire.
Seems fair. Dan,
good
you're
evening.
Up next.
So, good evening. My name is Dan. This week I will be playing Pendaran Mab Elad. I am an augur, which is basically your kind of mysticy type, but more sort of in reading
more
the
layers.
Omens and stuff of the gods and things like that. He is of British descent. But has mostly been raised by the Romans.
There you go. And Lawrence, who are you playing?
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm playing Lucius Cassius Aeneas. He is a patrician Roman family who is a scholar, and in this case, also the group's diplomatic specialist, shall we say, given the largely more aggressive tendencies of some of the other members of the group.
And lastly, Roger.
Hi, I'm Roger, and I'm playing Titus Sergius, who is an explorer from Eurasia, which is kind of Switzerland-ish. He is the son of a dairy farmer, grew up in kind of hilly countryside of the area. So didn't really have a lot of experience around people other than his family, but wasn't really a farmer by heart. So went off exploring, looking around, had a natural knack for hunting and exploring and finding his way around, and got recruited into the custodian guard and has been dropped on these unfortunate souls who have to put up with him.
I'm sure they're more than happy to do that. Do we need to do a little recap for the people at home, or shall we just jump straight into it? Who has the best notes?
Little recap.
That's my question.
Well, our cohort superior, Orestes, sent us on this track after going over an oracle's dream. It was something to the effect of, and I am paraphrasing here because I don't write that fast. An eagle is flying into the sun, a horn sounded, breaking of the ground. The eagle swoops low over an ember. The eagle was caught in a net and pinned with spears wielded by dead men. And a city on the coast, which was tied into an older senator, Rufus Callus, I believe, who was at death's door, but he miraculously returned from death, but he was screaming and refusing to sleep again, which led us from Rome across the countryside and across the waters here to Illyricum. And then we traveled by road to the Castra which is where our party is currently at, after having found that the commander of the Castra was missing or dead, and that all of the men have basically turned into drunken louts. So we were attempting to get some order back in the Castra while we decided what to do about the rumors of possible mercenaries in the area, and how that might impact our mission.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good summary. So that's pretty much where you start with Aleko, Casa shouting at about 34-ish men who are now really scrambling to try and stand to attention in some manner. They're rather confused. You hear a few of them like whispering to each other, someone should get Minimus. And but no one seems to dare step out of the line.
Kaza goes up to one of the whisperers and puts, nose to nose. He's like, "Who's this Minimus? And why do you think you need him?"
You see a bunch of the other ones sort of chuckle behind him. Plinius Aurelianus is our Optimo. He's the last remaining officer after both centurions disappeared.
Very interesting. Where's your shield at, Centurion?
It's back inside the Castra.
Go get your shield, raise it above your head, and run around the compound 10 times. And if you drop the shield once, I will flog you. And then he points to the next guy. Go get Minimus.
You see both of them break off. One of them runs off and grabs his shield and starts running laps. The Castra's not that big because basically there's only like a single sentry in here.
I figured.
But but he's running laps around, and you see the other one dive into a building, and fairly hurriedly, a rather nervous-looking figure runs out, then sees you in the distance, slows down, and starts attempting to walk kind of purposefully. As he gets to, greets you all and says, I'm Optio Plinius Aurelianus. Are you the new commanders?
I will, as he's walking out, I won't say a word. I will just sort of gesture to him, and point in front of me, so see if he actually comes over.
He looks rather nervous, sort of looks at the four of you, and then shuffles over. You hear like from this rather mob-like group of soldiers at the back, you hear someone hidden behind the rest of their. Go on, Minimus.
As he's walking over, I'll just sort of glance over at Casa and just sort of nod at the back and just nod.
Casa looks at the rest of the men. Since you guys have so much time to joke and laugh and talk, everybody get in full kit, get your shields up, and run until I tell you to stop. You've got 5 minutes to be running.
They all sort of freeze and look at you for a second.
I put my hand on my
They're
sword
all-
and start walking towards him.
do you want to roll for that? We'll see how effective you are. They're definitely going to
sure.
start running.
So would that be an authority roll?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, that seems like something.
Okay.
Let's have a look. What will suit best?
Or, I mean,
Think-
or would it fall under debello for like, soldiering? I mean, I do
You could
have
go with-
debello. I've got threatening 1 in my debello.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah. You could use
Okay.
the bello or the corpore. But yeah, I think in this case, because you do have threatening, the bello seems the most sensible.
okay, so I've got a
Sensible choice.
19 target number there. So I think
Yeah.
I'm going to roll 2d5s and a d9. Oh my God, what a terrible roll. I got a 9.
They start running. They're like not. They do move off, but there's a bit of fire at their backsides now, but they're still a stumbling shambles of what you would hope to find
Gaza
In-
just shakes his head.
in the Roman castra.
As they do that with obviously Minos in front of me, can I just sort of lean over him and just unleash, because I've got command,
Yeah.
and basically just sort of bark out, "You heard the man, move, and see if it
Okay.
encourages them."
If they linger, can I try and put an arrow directly behind one of their feet?
They're not really lingering. They're just sort of not really forming up very well. They're
Boundary testing.
yeah. There's a mild chance they're all slightly hungover as well.
That as well.
It's the best time to run laps.
Well, what if as they take off, then I'll basically sort of turn the centurion around, point at his men, and go, "So, Optio, you consider this acceptable for a cohort for a century of the Roman legions?"
He starts stumbling over his words and goes, "Well, up until a few weeks ago, I mean, we're obviously we're out here on our own, but
A yes or no, Optio. I didn't ask for your life story. I asked you a simple question. Yes or no, is this acceptable for the Roman legions?
no, sir.
Good. We agree on something.
Would
Your
you
men are a shambles.
would you like to see the corpses, sir?"
Corpses. You have a shambles of a command, and dead bodies are the first thing that come to mind. You're a soldier. Dead bodies should be something you are at least used to.
Well, there used to be 80 of us. Now there's 34. And no one's come by from Pola. I mean, the roads are unmanageable. We've sort of been trapped here in the castra.
Show me to your centurion's office. Show me what documents you have. Show me what reports you have. And then you can join your fellows outside under Casa's command to make sure that there is no possibility of favoritism considered. Do we understand each other?
Yes, centurion. He looks at you and is sort of like, probably not a centurion, but I'm not sure who I'm dealing with, and I daren't ask.
I'll pull out the document that we've been given, show it that it has the mark of the Imperial Guard, essentially, and go, from now, you do what we say, and provided you do it well, we will say no more about exactly how we discovered you when we return to Rome. Now, shall we move with the expectations of a true Roman soldier, shall we, Optio? Move!
And he leads you off to the primary centurion's office. It's a bit of a mess. You can sort of tell that the Optio's been using it, but isn't really sure what he's meant to be doing with it. And there are bunches of papers and things, messages that have been written, either never actually sent, and reports and things lying around. Most of them seem to be outgoing ones. Right? There's not a lot of information lying about, that letters and things that they've received.
I'll settle myself into the office and start going through everything I can find, because any information at this point will be useful.
Okay. We'll get you to roll for that one as well.
Okay.
Let's see. Investigation seems the most obvious one. De Ciencia.
Well, I've got De Ciencia of 16 and an investigation of 1. So, yeah, that'll do. So 17.
How are you dividing it up for the people at home?
I will go, I think, D10 and D6.
A D10, a D4, and a D3?
Yeah, because that actually uses the full 17. Okay.
I think for 17 you don't really have a lot of options, do you?
No.
-R.
I might have to do this manually.
Yeah.
And we have a grand total of 9.
No, that's takes you a little while, but you find some background information. Most of the Legion from Histria was sent off to protect the Dacian border, where they're standing eyeing up the Golden Horde after Rome somehow managed to stop it in its tracks. But it's far from defeated, and a lot of the legions have been posted there. So the interior has pretty much emptied out. They were left behind to protect this area and take care of things. There's several papers starting half a year back, maybe, about problems arising with watchtowers and things, where they were either experiencing strange things at night that they couldn't quite explain, up until a point about a month and a half back, when they started getting attacked, and the Castra would send out people to find out what happened to the watchtower, only to find bodies and no explanation of how these Roman soldiers ended up dead. At a given point, with these attacks occurring, one of the centurions took out a detachment to investigate and also ended up dead. And the second one went out in search of rumors of lost history and youths, and also never returned. And that left them rather undermanned, as things seemed to escalate from there.
I'm guessing that's where the reports start to tail off.
Yeah, well, the last few reports are written by the Optio, but they're sort of scrawled haphazardly, reporting the death of both centurions and almost pleading for reinforcements. Is anyone else doing anything at the moment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
So, whilst the everyone else was interacting with the guard and the legionnaires, I might taken a step back and slipped away a little bit. I assume these barracks would have their own temple. Is that right?
Has a sort of more of a like little shrine-ish area, but there isn't really a temple per se. It's very small barracks as well.
Okay.
Temples are generally in towns.
So they wouldn't have their own
cities.
equivalent of an augur, like someone who would have read the portents and signs before they go into battle and all that sort of thing.
Not for this detachment because it's too small. It's a century. There were 80 men from what you've gather from what you've been told, and they're now down to 34. Yeah.
Which scratch that. I won't be doing anything.
But they have a little shrine. There's a.
No, I really need to my plan was to find who would ever be in charge of said shrine. But if it's small, I imagine.
Yeah.
Would they have a priest or a healer or?
Mostly prayer-wise, they're just left to their own devices unless they go into Pola, for instance, themselves, or go to the temples there.
Okay. I think I'll hold fire on that then, and remain with the group.
Is the compound fortified? I mean, does it have like a
but badly. It's pretty much the like the picture that's up, but a lot smaller. They do have a sort of raised area, and they've dug out a ditch around it and built the camp on top of that. But the walls are reasonably low. It's just basically a big wooden fence all the way around, but it's badly maintained.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I can just kind of go around and basically assess the defensive capability of it, and then I'll report back to Kaza so he can bollock the soldiers that they've not done a good enough job.
They probably haven't. Do you want to roll for that then?
Sure. What would I roll for? Seeing how easily I could break into it, which is more how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. In that case, you can roll a stealth roll, which is the Kopore.
Okay, so
if you want to actually sort of attempt to, or otherwise investigate, maybe if you just want to look around.
I'll go with stealth. It's probably better than my investigate. Good start. Well,
I mean,
I
if
think-
anyone wants to get people re-rolls now. Although, to be honest, it's probably good to get all of the bad rolls out of the way before
I
the
think they've done a
combat
great
starts.
job.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing fortifications. I would never think just to step over the fence.
It like you don't really. You have a general sense that it's very badly maintained, and you could probably break in easily if you wanted to, but you can't really. You're a bit too distracted by the state of it to really pick out the specific areas where there are problems.
All right, I'll basically just kind of walk around the outside, then come back to
Yeah.
Kaza and tell him that it's just awful.
I see that. Well, when they get done running and puking, I'll see about getting them onto the walls to shore it up.
Are there like watchtowers anywhere at all around
Yeah,
it? Or,
yeah, around the gates, towards the sides.
and
They're
I'm
sort
assuming
of
no one's actually
More
on
than
watch.
actual proper watchtowers, they're sort of raised areas built out of wood. That it's a watchtower in name. You can see further from it.
And I'm assuming they're all unmanned.
Well, they are at the moment because everyone is running. When you arrived, most of them were unmanned. There were a few people up in a couple of them. And you sort of saw them talking to each other from a distance, which was why it took them so long to even notice you were approaching.
See. To be honest, this garrison's lucky they're not decimated.
Well, from the sounds of it, it looks like were all but decimated. It'd be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what Lucius and Pindarin come up with as to the reason behind the poor state of this.
Also, at this point, it's sort of getting towards evening as well, because if you recall, you were going to stay at the Castra overnight
Before pushing on.
Before pushing on in the morning to.
I suppose on the plus side, if we did decimate them, we'd only kill another 3.
Kaza yells out to Optimo, find a squad of the most sober, most competent legionnaires and get them in the towers.
As you say that, he sort of starts trying to shout orders, but everyone kind of stops at that point and they stare at him. There's a look in their eyes that you weren't quite expecting. Most of them look very afraid of the idea of having to stand in the watchtowers.
Men of the Legion, you will stand your watch and I will be here with you. Get to your posts, or you can run outside the walls all night.
That'll do it. Eventually, the Optimo manages to pull a few Optio, should I say? Keep calling him an Optimo. But, Optio manages to pull a few volunteers out and form a loose contingent of people who are willing to stand watch. Maybe
Optio,
not willing, but they will stand watch against their better judgment.
A minimum of 2 per tower, Optio. I want to make sure we've got plenty of eyes on what's going on tonight.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And you pick one of the towers you're going to be in, and I'll be out to check on you soon. Lead by example, Optio.
Very quiet and basically goes completely ashen-faced. And you can hear some of the rest of them now they've finished running. Through their wheezing and puffing, they're sort of chuckling to each other.
The rest of you lot, get to your barracks. There'll be an inspection in the morning. It had better be clean, and your gear had better be in the best shape it has ever been in.
Yeah. I think you may have to prepare for disappointment. It will be the best shape it's ever been in.
Kaza is not really expecting anything. He just wants to keep them doing something.
Yeah. No. There's sort of a air of familiarity falling over them now. This is what they were used to in the long forgotten before times. And just the idea of someone shouting orders at them has sort of bolstered them up a little bit. Yeah. Someone somewhere knows what they're doing. So yeah. As evening sets in and it starts to get darker, what are the plans?
Have a bit of a snooze, I think.
Make sure that we and the rest and all the troops get fed. Always a good idea. I'm sure that feeding themselves and us should be something that they are at least passably good at.
Yeah.
And Kaza plans to, do basically 2 hours on, 2 hours off, roaming patrol around the inside of the Castra, checking the towers, checking over the men.
Yeah, as feeding goes, there's in every squad, there's a couple of people who are adept at feeding their group, and that seems to go fairly well with what little stocks they have left. The advantage being their stocks lasted longer than they probably would have without resupply. And as it starts to get dark and only the torchlight in the watchtowers is lighting up even the smallest bit beyond the walls of the Castra, the people standing watch are really, the soldiers standing watch are really starting to get very nervous as you pass them by in 2 hours.
Kaza will stop at each one and ask, he talks to the men to try to find out what it is they're so terrified. What do they expect to be happening at night here?
One of them sort of beckons you over and he says, if you come back a few hours past midnight, you'll see.
All right, troop. I'll be here after midnight, standing with you. We'll face this as true Roman legionnaires.
Does anyone else want to do anything in the meantime?
I'll sort of intercept the Optio at some point, having spent the time in the office and probably got the office in the best order it's been since the place was built, reorganizing the place. I'll sort of ask him, you mentioned bodies. Can you show me?
Yeah. Well, they're you see him looking out for Casimir as he's been told to stand guard. He's sort of I can show you where they are. Yeah,
that's all I require.
The other soldier that he's standing guard with sort of scoffs as he quickly hurries down the little ladder, follows you. And in one of the disused barracks, because they have a fair few that are now completely empty, they've just lined up the bodies, wrapped them up in shrouds, and it's a fairly bad stench as you go in, but not as
The
bad
question-
as you would
How
expect.
many bodies have they got altogether, and how long have they been keeping them?
Some of them look older than other ones, and there are in total somewhere close to 25 bodies, something like that.
So these are
One
bodies
of
they've
them has, like, they're all wrapped up, but one of them has a centurion's helmet rested on it, on top of it.
So the ones that went out, they found the bodies of some of them, but not all of the
Yeah.
or everyone. So someone somewhere knows where the patrols went missing, where they died, if they recovered them.
Yeah. If you ask the Optio, he'll basically tell you that, yeah, some of them were from the watchtowers when we went to check on them after they didn't report in the mornings along the road. Some of them are from patrols that were sent out. Then obviously a large group of them are from the Centurion's detachment that he took out to investigate. And then a few more are from the other Centurion's detachment, but most of those weren't found. And there's something strange about them.
Oh,
We were gonna dispose of them outside the Castra, but the ones that we burnt or buried outside the Castra, well, maybe you should see for yourself.
I don't like where this is going.
I'll sort of give him a look and sort of very well. In the morning, you will provide, as far as you can, there are maps in the office. By the morning, I'd like you to have noted where you found the majority of the bodies. However, I understand that you have a watch to stand. You can leave me here. I will continue my investigations. Off you go.
Oh, okay. If you want to see what happened to the others, you won't need to wait till morning, though. Then he sort of walks off back to his watch.
While the others are I'm guessing while the others are out and about, I will undertake something that probably most people wouldn't even want to. I will have a look at I will start to methodically work my way through the rows of the bodies and see if I can find any definitive reason for their deaths. Yeah, I'm going to be spending several hours sort of examining the dead and just hoping that I can make something that's worth it out of it.
That seems like a roll to me. Now, what am I? Do you have any medicine?
I do. I have. I've got medicine 1.
Yeah.
And
so a de ciencia roll of medicine, and basically the more successes you score, the better. Well,
fair
the higher
enough.
you score, the more successes you'll end up with, and the more
I've got 17.
will be revealed.
So let's try the. Let's try the same as I did last time. So D10. D4.
Nice.
Nice.
And the D3, wasn't it? Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice.
There we go.
13.
So yeah, 13.
Yep. So that's going to be about 2 successes. Yeah. And the initial cause of their deaths in lots of cases is very clear. Once you start unwrapping them, a lot of them have weapon wounds of some kind on their body. They've been killed by a weapon, swords, spears, things like that. Then some of them have slightly stranger marks. It's more like, more like maybe a claw or something, but nothing really that
Nothing
you've
that's
seen or
obviously
associate
recognizable.
with any kind of animal. And they're all pretty much the same. They're very pale, greyish, and their eyes are completely white. Not just from rolling back, they are completely white. And they all feel very cold, but slightly
Nothing to
colder
keep-
than the
ambient temperature should mean they are.
Yeah. But they don't look like they've really decayed all that much.
Certainly not when we know some of them are like dead 3, 4, 5+ weeks.
Yeah.
And then left essentially in a collection of small rooms.
Yeah. And yeah, you're still Histria is like just in Italy.
It's it's
Italia,
relatively warm.
But yeah,
at
it's
this point.
Modern day, I think, probably Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Along the coast there, so gets pretty warm.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of these should be putrefied corpses, and they're not.
Yeah. It's nice for you to investigate, but
Slightly
also
worrying.
unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah. I will regroup when I get once I've finished with who I can, and just pass on the basics. Don't need to pass on everything, but they have at least more than half of the missing dead, and those dead are not right. Some of them have been killed by weapons. Some of them appear to have been mauled, but not by any creature I can identify. And they are certainly in far better condition than those bodies are far better condition than they have any right to be. They're basically the chill of a morgue in Rome, somewhere in the depths under the city, not a barrack room in northern Italia.
Yeah.
Well, when Kaza hears this, he's like, as Pendaran, what do the gods say of this? What do your auguries tell us is going on here?
I will consult the omens.
Do you want to? What exactly do you want to do, magic-wise? What are you trying to ascertain? And we'll have a look at what kind of ritual you could potentially use.
I want to figure out what did this.
So, do you want to try and see something in the past, maybe? Get a sense of what happened? So that's going to be some kind of retrocognition. Yeah. Have a look at all associated tools. Yeah, no, you can, yeah. So basically, you'll be trying to perform a ritual. Be honest, it's hard to remember all of them. But yeah, just a retrocognitive ritual, and the more successes you have, the
Retro-
more.
So, because I've only got dreams, omens, or favor of the gods.
Yeah, you can still do it. You just won't have the bonuses to it. You're better at
Okay, so
other
it's just
things, but it's still a similar type of divination, or because basically all of the rituals are available to all of the custodes. Most of them are not going to be very good at it.
Okay.
And you also have more pietas to spend on it. Yeah.
17.
Okay. Yeah. No. That goes well.
I'm gonna do that as a D. Actually, 2d8. No. D10 and a D6.
So
A D1.
You can either use a oraculum ritual or a speculum ritual.
Yeah, I'm breaking up my dice pool, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either way. It's going to cost you 9. Oh no, wait. Oraculum will cost you 9 pietas, and a speculum ritual cost you 12.
Well, I'll take the more expensive one because it sounds far more interesting.
Because it's cheaper. It'll take you a bit longer. It'll take you a few hours to complete.
We don't have time to faff around. No, I need the quicker one.
The speculum will take you about an hour, and you have to blindfold yourself in front of a mirror, a pool of water, or something similar, or an open fire. And basically,
I'm sure we have all of those. So
yeah,
that will be that one then.
Okay, so you can mark off 12 pietas, and it'll take you an hour setting up this ritual.
Do I need to roll?
Yes.
What are we thinking? If I have a 17.
I mean,
a
you
D10,
need a 9,
D4, and a D3.
9 or more, so...
D10.
Yeah. I think that's pretty
much... You know what?
If you get another 2 of those, you... oh. And a D3.
How do you do D3 on this?
Slash roll 1d3.
Yeah.
Or you could roll a d6 and 1 and 2 is 1, 2 and 3 is 2.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Okay, so
okay, so 12. Yeah, no. That's a fairly good success anyway. Basically you have to ask me a very specific question, and I will give you an answer.
What is the cause of these bestial wounds?
So what are you using? You're blindfolded in front of...
I assume there's a fire going somewhere. So we'll present one of those bodies in front of the fire. I'll blindfold myself.
Mm-hmm.
The man has been stripped. Ready, so like all the marks. Can be seen. As part of before I put on my blindfold, I would have got a bit of chalk and kind of drawn circles and mystic magical symbols around it as well. Put the blindfold on, stared into the fire.
You're staring into the fire, watching it flicker through this blindfold in your mind's eye, when you realize there's someone standing next to you.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And you turn around to see the face of the legionnaire that is, as far as you know, like he looks at you for a second, and then you both stare into the flames a little bit longer, until you realize you're running.
Yeah.
With him, you're like right next, shoulder to shoulder. You can hear him huffing and puffing, and he's running, presumably for his life. See flashes of spears and swords go by, and then something almost spectral lurches up in front of you out of the forests, and just this hand swipes down across him, and he drops, and you're lying there right by his side until everything shifts upwards again, and you're both looking at this flame, and he slowly dissipates from your side.
Okay. It's a bit disconcerting. Right, I will remove my blindfold. Place my hand
When you
on
remove your blindfold and look down at him, you can see almost this bluish, ghost-like glint of the wound across his chest for a few more seconds before it fades as you close off again to the magics around you.
I'm gonna place the sheet back over him and say thank you. Stand up, brush myself off. Like this sort of thing happens all the time to me. And kind of say, the omens are not clear. He was chased by sword and arrow, and then driven down to the ground by some sort of spectral claw. And I do not mean that in a sort of metaphorical sense. I mean it was an actual spectral claw. Some sort of beast.
And Darn, in your travels, have you ever heard of such an occurrence?
What did I recognize? What the?
It felt very ghost. The entire environment you were in felt very ghost-like, like restless spirits of the dead.
Only that it felt like an omen of the underworld. That it was a restless spirit of the dead. Perhaps.
Well, how do we combat something like that? I've only ever fought the eaters of the dead before, those corporeal creatures who live beyond their death. I've never faced any kind of spirit.
The oracle that sent us on this journey spoke of dead men. It seems that their view was as literal as we
Literal
fear.
interpretation, yes, indeed.
A very literal interpretation.
Whilst you're all
Very thoughtfully.
or around each other by the fire, you hear one of the watchtowers cry out, "It's the West tonight!" And sort of everyone in the other watchtowers starts to shift over. They all kind of start huddling together towards this western watchtower.
Kaza immediately heads over to the Western Watchtower.
The Optio's standing there looking nervous, sort of right at the back as well, almost so that he can't see out.
Gaza just looks at him. Make a hole, Optio. I need to see what's going on. And he presses himself right up against the front of the watchtower.
Pandaren, are you going with Kaza, or are you still with the body?
I want to go. I want to go.
Yeah. Lucius has certainly joined them as well. Whatever information we can gain.
Almost before you get up the ladder to the watchtower, Pandaren, you have this image that flashes through your mind of rows upon rows of ancient Illyrian soldiers. And when you all get up there and lean out over the watchtower and look into the darkness, you can see an unnatural glow of shadowy forms, all marching past in groups.
What direction are they marching?
They appear to be heading for the road.
Optio, are these the forces that have been arrayed against your Castra?
Well, we presume as so. None of us have ever encountered them. They don't come near the Castra for some reason. As long as we're here behind the walls, we're safe. But the moment you step outside, beyond, or even put your hand outside the walls, they'll come for you. Every night they pass.
But obviously from a different direction or on a different side of the Castra?
Yeah.
Do they always head to the road?
They stops and thinks for a second and then realizes, yeah, they do always head to the road.
Well, it looks like you've pissed your armor again. Go get cleaned up.
That is probably true. But he doesn't take much convincing to not have to stand around here, and shuffles off.
Well, Lucius, Pandaren, Titus, this is outside of my area of. I mean, if it's not something I can hit with a sword, I don't know what good I am.
Most of the soldiers that were on watch are also gathered around you at this point. They came up to see it because they were on watch, and they're all sort of turned towards the three of you for some kind of guidance.
Back to your towers. You gonna let a few ghosts scare you? Man your posts. We'll be looking into this.
One of the shadows stops and looks at you, Pandaren.
One of the shadows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stops and stares back at you. And you have a vague recollection of it.
This is the same thing.
Yeah. You can't make it out. There's this faint unnatural glow, but they're far enough back from the Castra that everything is dark and you can just see these kind of glowing shadows beyond. But you know who it is.
This was the one that attacked the guardsman, or it is the guardsman?
It's whatever attacked the guardsman.
Okay. Well, where there's a will, there's a way.
Spirits may have obviously injured some, but most of the bodies I saw carried wounds of sword and spear, and unless these are as more solid than they appear, they did not kill the majority of them here. There is some physical agency involved in this as well. There must be. They may be conjuring these creatures, but someone is killing these men as well as these spectres do. And far more of them, it would appear, than these spectres have killed. There is something we can fight here. We just have to find out where it is and why.
Lucius, do you think we should follow it back to its source from where these specters come, or figure out where they're marching to and proceed there? Or should we simply go to the senators and speak with him?
A senator who fears to sleep, who has apparently cheated death,
Aye.
and an oracle speaking of an eagle of Rome surrounded by and trapped by dead men, and we have seen dead men walking. If they head to the road, there's nothing to say they're not heading in the same direction we are night after night. I think it is better to speak with the senator and see what he can tell us, if he is willing, before we seek whatever creature in its lair. That without any further
Yes,
information, that is pure madness, surely.
I agree. A little bit more further information gathering won't harm anyone. These things aren't going anywhere. And I wonder perhaps if we should talk to those locals that we bumped into earlier as well.
Locals,
The mercenaries?
yes. Mercenaries from another place.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they knew a thing or two of what was going on. But I concur we should speak with the senator next. Perhaps a bit of daylight will prevail and we should all get some rest.
The soldiers seem to think that provided we stay within the walls, nothing will happen. I think rest is probably a good plan. And in the morning, perhaps we see if these spectres leave any trace. Unlikely, but perhaps those who conjure them are not far behind and leave traces instead.
Indeed. Strokes his beard thoughtfully again.
Okay, so you're sleeping the rest of the night.
I think we should all very noisily come into whatever barracks Roger's character's in. And bunk
I'm not
up.
sure Titus will wake up. Probably doesn't care.
Kaz is still going to stick with his original plan of a soldier's night of sleep, up and down, checking them in, making sure that they stay firm on the towers and that they know that he's there watching.
Yeah.
Do I get any points back for resting?
Not your pietas, no.
No, okay.
Basically, you get that back if you go and pray at a temple somewhere. But it's very unlikely you're gonna... In general, it's assumed it's going to be unlikely for you to be able to do that often throughout the course of an adventure.
Right. I lost 12, didn't I?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I've also banked a bit of information for you that you may get in visions later on.
Cool.
Now that you're attuned to what's going on and you've sort of kind of experienced it as well. Kassa, as you're marching about, you notice that after these shadowy figures have disappeared, the soldiers seem to be significantly less nervous. They've kind of all calmed down a bit now. And they sort of, one of them points out to you, that's it for tonight then.
So this happens every night. And as long as you're within the walls, they pass by without giving you a notice. But should you leave the wall, should you leave the compound, they attack.
If you put a foot outside the gate, they will take it off.
Very interesting.
What has this to do with the fact of not disposing of the bodies of your comrades in the correct manner? How can burning such bodies outside the walls or burying them affect those that march past and have, from their appearance, no link to your men, your comrades?
I'm guessing Minimus didn't bother to tell you about that then. Come on.
Your
follow me.
Optio apparently decided that he mentioned something that it would be explained tonight, but it seems that not everything has been explained. Lead on.
Yeah, explaining is probably not his strong suit. It leads you over to the opposite side, to one of the watchtowers. And he says, well, if you want to say hello, they're right over there. Every night, same place. That's where we buried them. And if you go up onto the watchtower, you can see like 4 or 5 Roman soldiers just kind of standing in a field. They have the same faint, unnatural glow to them as the shadows that passed by before. But these ones are just close enough to the torchlight for you to make them out, but they're just standing there staring back at the Castra.
I'll turn to the soldier and go, I understand now. To your duty, soldier. Rest as you may. Tomorrow will come, and we will have some further questions and further orders for you. Now, rest. Go on.
Yeah. Marches off.
Probably with some relief, I'm guessing.
Pretty much, yeah. The soldier standing watch on that side as well in the watchtower is sort of looking at you kind of expectantly. You also notice that he's positioned a little table and chair pointing away from the spectral Romans beyond the wall so that he doesn't have to spend the entire night looking at them.
Before I leave the watchtower, I'll turn to him and there you go. I understand, soldier. A reminder of such things is not pleasant. But remember, they were your comrades once. You should at least do them the duty of remembering them, especially when they stand there for so easily to be remembered. They were your comrades. You must hope that they remain so.
They're always staring at us. Why do they always have to keep staring at us?
Only the dead know what the dead know. Leave them be. And remember them as they were in life. Surely that is better. And I'll sort of leave the tower and go for some rest.
Yeah. Okay. Asa, before the night ends, can you give me one final roll as you go to check one of the watchtowers and they say, something out there again.
What kind of role would you like? A decorpore? De natura?
Trying to spot something that's probably more likely to be de natura.
Okay.
You have, or it could be de corpore, but well, more like feats of. I'd go with de natura.
Okay. A 7.
Yeah, you spot
Yes.
a slight shadow against all of these other dark shadows of tree lines and things, but it might be moving. It might just be a bush that's caught the wind.
Casa makes a note.
Soldier says to you, I'm certain of it, trust me. But you can't really make anything out.
He makes a note of the location so that we might be, so he can tell Titus, because Titus might be able to take a closer look at the area and determine what was standing there in the morning.
And with that, slowly morning breaks, and the watch is relieved. Especially relieved to no longer have to stand watch. And the camp, everyone else who kind of got to rest, starts waking up, along with you all. You're served breakfast with the rest of the soldiers. The Optio is still looking very nervous and hoping that you won't ask him too many questions or order him about too much. But there's sort of a more settled air to things in the Castra now. Soldiers feel a little bit more upbeat, if somewhat tired from marching about and running.
Kaza will be organizing them after breakfast into work groups to shore up the defenses, keep them busy throughout the day. And then he pulls Titus aside and he's like, Titus, last night on one of the guard towers, one of the guards pointed out an area. I couldn't tell for sure. It was shadows within shadows, but there may have been something there. I thought perhaps before we head out today, you could take a look at the area and see if you can discern any tracks or perhaps something.
Sure, if you point me to the area, I'll go have a look around.
And Kaza does. He tells him, shows him, takes him up to the watchtower, points out the area, the trees that it was in.
Yeah. It's sort of beyond the cleared area around the Castra, closer towards the tree line.
Yeah, I'll go
nearer to where you saw, well, Titus didn't, but nearer to where everyone else saw this spectral march.
Hey, Titus has been a soldier long enough to know you sleep as soon as you get the chance.
So, I think you can, I suppose hunting probably be most applicable here. The Natura hunting role.
Okay, so 19.
Nice.
Solid start.
Not too bad. 13.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, you quite quickly spot some tracks around the edge of the wood. They lead off into the woods as well, and have come from sort of skirting around the edge.
Can I tell tracks of what?
It's definitely a person. Yeah.
Is it just one, or does it look like a group?
It's one person, and they seem to be fairly light of step. So they've been purposefully attempting to sneak about, from what you can tell from the tracks.
Okay, and can I tell how fresh the tracks are?
Definitely from last night.
And I
Oh.
know when which direction they're going in.
Yeah, you have a sense. Like, you could follow them off a bit into the forest,
I'm not going to
and
follow
or
them.
back around the other way, around the
I'm not
outskirts.
going to follow them just
but-
because that's probably something I should have
Yeah.
the others with me for. But I'll kind of put something in the ground so I know where they are exactly, and I can go straight to them.
As you're putting it in the ground, you sort of examine the markings a bit closer and notice that underneath, just it's almost like someone has purposefully stepped in the same steps several times, again and again. So whoever it is has probably been here a few times, but they've
Always
made
followed the same
exact
tracks.
movements each time. So whoever it is, they're probably very good at moving quietly.
Okay, yeah, I'll head back to the Castra and let Kaza know what I found.
Interesting. What do you think, Lucius? Pendaran? Do we follow our mystery visitor from last night, or do we go to the senators?
Titus, you said that the tracks were faint and moving into rougher ground. The chances of us being able to follow him all the way at this point are limited.
Depends. He follows the same tracks. They could be slightly deeper than he might have thought. If it wasn't for someone like me, they probably wouldn't have been seen. But
If they follow the same path each time, then that suggests we can always come back and find them again.
possibly.
I think we should continue with speaking with the senator first.
Yeah.
If this person is spying on us, they'll come back and spy on us another time. I suspect it's probably one of those mercenary types that we ran into yesterday.
Could well be. It's someone messing with the garrison.
I would
Although,
suggest that we continue with our plan.
how far away is where we're going from here, Lewis?
The senator is another couple to a few hours away.
So it's likely that it would be to travel there, stay there overnight, and return to here the next day.
It's still reasonably early morning now, so
you could do it in a day.
Could go there and back in a day, as long as you didn't dawdle there.
Lucius,
the
I would prefer to return to the Castra tonight. These men need a firm hand if they're going to return to the ways of the Legion.
Certainly, I would not wish to leave them without far better command than they have for any length of time. And if you think it's that short a space, then we should push on and return as quickly as we can tonight. It suggests that traveling here after dark means we may meet more than the normal problems of the road.
Well, I'll tell the men in Optio what to do this day and let them know that we will return by nightfall. And Kaza walks off to get the men settled for their day's tasks.
I will see if the Optio has completed what I've asked and have a look at whatever maps they have of the surrounding area before we leave, because that should also hopefully point us on our path to the senator's villa, because that must be within their patrol area.
Yeah, no, it
and
definitely is.
And see if they've marked off the areas where the sort of deaths have occurred, the various groups where they found them.
A lot of them are along basically the watchtowers that they used to man along the road. Most of those are the places that have been struck, and then the Centurion and his little detachment that he took out were also all found very near to one of the watchtowers, one of the furthest watchtowers, where they were investigating these disappearances. And then there's a few patrols that were also they're also mostly near the road as well.
So it's the road seems to be. I have one question before we leave for the Optio. The first deaths, was it the closest watchtower to the Castra that was attacked first, and then proceeding along the road as time went on?
Thinks for a second. Think looks at the map and then sort of points it out to you and marks it down that was the first one. And he says, no, it was not the furthest one, but it was this one here, nearest to the crossing with the old road. But no one uses that anymore. But it's a stretch along the. But that was where it first occurred. That's why initially the Centurions thought it was bandits come down from the hilly lands. And
well, they may not have been entirely wrong. They may simply have not assumed that said bandits were those of the past rather than those of the present. Thank you for your help. Ensure your men keep to their duties this day. I would not wish you to incur the wrath of my friend any further than they have already done so.
And looks at you at that. You say that and says, Commander, do we really need to work on the walls? It's just, the men are worried that if we change anything about them, so far they've kept us safe, and we don't want to do anything to change that.
If broken down walls will hold out spirits, then fully functional walls will hold out spirits as well. They may also hold out whatever is commanding them. For spirits can hurt, but your men died by spear and arrow and sword. Those walls will not hold out those that carry spear and arrow and sword. So I would suggest, given that they appear to have done the greatest amount of damage, you prepare for that and leave worries about spirits to us.
Yes, of course, Commander. And Optio shuffles off. So yeah, I take it you're going to move out towards the estate following the map.
Yes, I'm going to make sure I take a map with me.
It's pretty easy to find. Most of the way is just following this main road straight down, and then there's a fork a bit further down that goes off into the countryside a bit further. And after a couple of rolling hills, you come across a fairly expansive estate, which is nicely covered in vineyards at the front, but you can see the villa come peeking out from behind them, and then behind that is a lot of farmland and grazing land being worked on by various people. It looks quite well kept.
Does the road get better as we get closer?
The main road itself, not really, but this side road off into the countryside, you pass a few houses as well on the way with other farms and things that a small village also that's nearer to the senator's estate. Everything here seems fairly well maintained and definitely better looked after than the road out of Polla.
Is there any indication from the farms and farmers of the small town that we passed through that they have also seen this march of spirit warriors, or along the road, or perhaps they're going a different direction?
You could potentially ask people you pass by, try and pick up some rumors.
Kaza looks at Lucius and Pendar and he's like, people don't respond well to me. Perhaps you can find out if they've seen anything odd.
It seems like it would be a good idea to at least make gentle inquiries. Although, speaking of hosts of spirit warriors marching the countryside at night may not be the best way to introduce ourselves.
So
I'm sure if they
sort of thing we should be saying.
I'm sure if they've seen something along those lines, they'll be the first one to tell us about it.
I would expect so.
Yeah. Let's see. It would be some kind of the Societate role, but what have you got, Lucius? Or Pandaren, if Pandaren wants to talk to everyone.
I have
Whoever's
politics and command.
Yeah, I think it'll just be a flat the Societate role because it's more you're sort of questioning them, asking for local gossip and rumors.
Yeah, gentle leading questions.
Rather than outright commanding them to tell you everything.
Yeah. Leading questions and sort of gentle nudges in the right direction and being friendly. I'm guessing, they may even be quite glad to see vaguely soldier types on the road, even. Because I'm guessing we look at least vaguely military.
Yeah.
Kaza looks very military.
I'm guessing Pandaren is the one of us that probably doesn't.
Probably doesn't, yes.
Okay.
I think
a wiry
Lucius
old
also
man
looks
with a long beard, dressed in furs and robes and
I may not. At least
esoteric equipment.
Lucius looks very Roman, I assume, like very patrician Roman.
Yes, but patrician Roman, he could certainly look like he was once a tribune or once a commander within the military, because obviously the patricians of Rome, basically part of their way into politics is to join the army. So while he hasn't been, he can at least look like the soldier he isn't quite. Okay. Desociete, I've got a 12, so 2d6, I think, probably best.
2d6, 1d12. I mean, Pete would love it if you rolled a d12.
The one good thing about going with just one dice is it gives you a chance to actually get that fate roll. But
to get the fate roll,
you could also just roll a 1.
There is that. But then again, with 2d6, I can roll a 2.
Yeah, it's one more.
I will. I'll go with the d12. Why not?
Fortune
see what I
favors
get.
the bold.
6
average.
Yeah, most people are sort of they talk to you about a lot of local things, and they're like, it's nice to see some actual soldiers down here. I mean, they used to patrol up here, but mostly it's just the senator's bodyguard that looks after things nowadays. But yeah, difficult times, isn't it? Difficult times, and then one of them mentions like, yeah, all those strange goings on, but doesn't really elaborate.
I'm guessing that it doesn't want to be drawn on it. Just
As they say it, that one of the other ones looks at them and goes, "Stop being. I mean, they don't need to hear ridiculous stories. Just
fair enough. No one's willing to give. No one's either willing to give credence to it or wants to sound like an idiot by saying they've seen things that no one else will believe.
Mhm.
But it sounds like things have been seen this way then.
Yeah, I would agree. I bet the senator knows something.
Him and if he doesn't, his bodyguard may, if they're the ones that are keeping watch over his estate, and they may be a little bit more open with us when we can be a little bit more open with them about who we are. I have a feeling if we mentioned who we are to most of the actual people, they'd shut down and tell us even less.
Probably wouldn't even know who you are because the
Well, we
couples Arcana are completely secret. You could claim to be part of the Praetorian Guard, and that would probably,
which is true.
Probably, which is technically true, yeah.
May not, probably won't get us anywhere useful. So,
yeah. So yeah, if you want to continue up to the villa, sort of there's this winding road off of this side road that you've come down that leads up through the vineyards, straight up to a very nice, rather large, well-kept villa. And there's some guards at the front, and some people moving around, taking care of the estate, basically.
So this looks far more what you'd expect from a grand, rich, powerful man's estate. Yeah. Well tended, well watched over, well protected, and running as normal.
Yeah, at least it definitely looks far more what you would expect to find if there was nothing for you to do here at all.
So Kaza will go up to the guards and present their credentials and say, "We're here to see the senator. We've been dispatched from Rome."
I'll get the estate manager. You'll have to discuss that with him. And one of the guards rushes off and returns with a sort of elderly gentleman who introduces himself as Sabinus. Says, "I'm Drusus Carvus's estate manager. You say you're here to see the senator?"
Aye. Lucius, can you explain? It's not really my forte.
We have been sent by commission of the Praetorian Guard in Rome to investigate certain worrying reports in this area. Given the senator's position and power, we were directed here and suggested we speak with him, as he would be able to give us the best overview of the situation, and also to perhaps help him with a personal problem that has been reported and is worrying those of his friends and colleagues in Rome.
I'm afraid the senator has taken ill at the moment. However, his two sons are here. Perhaps they could help you in a similar fashion.
Ill? What's wrong with him?
He has a bout of fever, and just generally unwell. Someone of his advanced years. It's not unexpected.
Who's treating him?
There's a physician that has been brought in from Pola.
My friend here is a skilled man in such things, and I have some knowledge myself. If we can assist the physician, it would be helpful to speak with him as well. But certainly, if the senator's sons are available and able to see us, then we hope that they will be able to help us as well as their father would.
I think you should come inside anyway. We'll get you some refreshments, and I'll ask the senator's sons to speak with you. And you're led inside. Yeah.
Kaza gives a look over to Titus. That look that says, "There's some weird shit going on here."
Yeah, you'll kind of get the response of, "Yep." Kind of his hand kind of hovering near to where he could quickly draw the bow.
I feel like there's been some weird shit going on here since you got off the boat. Well, probably on the boat as well, but yeah, you're led inside and offered refreshments by the house staff, and after a while, two slightly younger but still fairly mature gentlemen who are all part of Rome's politics in their own right. Well, a couple of gentlemen appear, and they introduce themselves as Demetrius and Perseus Nerva Culvus, the sons of Drusus Nerva Culvus.
I will greet them in proper Roman patrician fashion, stating my name and thanking them for their hospitality before laying out the credentials that we gave to the foreman, stating that we are here on the orders of the Imperial Palace and Praetorian Guard in Rome to look into reports of unusual activity in the area, and to look in on the senator and ensure that any reports of his ill health are being either exaggerated or at least managed. For there are those in Rome who have his best interests at heart.
Yeah. Demetrius is very polite and sort of mostly reiterates the same kind of things that Sabinus, the estate manager, told you. Like, he's taken ill, and we will gladly help you in whatever way we can. But yeah, at the moment he's in his bed and should probably be left to rest. And Perseus sort of butts in and goes, "Yeah, the old man's sick, all right."
Well, I should take a look at him. I have some healing skill.
Tries to bob the whole thing off again and goes, "No, we have a fine physician come in from Pola. He's an old friend. He studied in Rome. I'm
So
sure.
did I.
I'm sure there's little more that can be done."
How would you know unless you would try? Surely, as his sons, you would want any help offered to you as a loyal and dutiful child of your family, of course. Now take me to him.
Perseus sort of scoffs at that and looks at Demetrius and goes, Do you want to try and convince them to let you
What,
see?
beyond my already obnoxious
Yeah, well,
behavior? Sure.
7 guards arrive.
Here we go.
No. So, what? How are you going about it? Are you trying to intimidate them into letting you pass? Are you trying to
Just being
show off your
Juice.
great credentials?
basically doing it if they stop me. They stop me. So I suppose I'm kind of just, almost blagging my way past.
Yeah.
So what would that be?
I would. I would say dissocietate, or you can use the Gobori to just sort of shoulder your way past your general presence.
Not my
Yeah, it's not.
Mori is better, but I'm not really barging my way past. So I will go associate the other one, which is only a D6. So that'd be
Good luck. It's going to be an opposed roll, by the way.
do it.
Maybe.
Oh, I didn't roll anything. Why didn't I roll?
Could he just roll? Could he just roll a straight authority roll instead? Just leaning on his authority of Rome.
Yeah. You.
Octoritas.
Oh, my Teritas. Hold on, let's check what that was.
That's probably a bit higher. I'll roll for Demetrius.
Where's
who's the main one?
Where's
It's your top stats. So basically,
Okay.
your core.
It's one of the virtues. It's the
Yeah,
middle
one
one
of
on
the
the
virtues.
character.
Oh, okay. 7.
Oh. Okay.
You have to beat a 5, so there you go.
Oh, well,
Roll a.
I roll that
a
D6.
D5 and a D2.
Uh,
No, D2's not. Well, I suppose
Can I
you
do a
flip a coin
D6 and a
for it.
D1? So
You
It's
can't
gotta have
roll a
chance.
D1.
Oh.
We've established.
still can't get my head around
Because
that.
the
Okay.
odds are very high of it being a 1.
A D4 and a D3.
Yeah.
D4.
Yeah, D4 and D3.
D4.
Nice.
It's a good start.
There you go. If you get a 3.
Okay, and D3. So I'll do D6.
Yeah, you can do a D6 and halve it.
Hey!
Nice.
Oh, 7.
Oh. 7.
So that is technically a fate roll as well. Because you rolled a 4 and a 3.
Hey, cool.
So you can
What was
roll
that?
again.
And add it
Both
to
dice.
it. Yeah.
It's exploding. Yeah.
Okay, the whole
Everything
thing. So another.
Yeah. So
Okay.
your 4 and 3.
It's another 4.
If this is another 3,
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
roll again.
Okay.
Oh my god.
It is.
Are you sure you're not just typing 4?
Roll 4.
And then a D6.
D6.
Oh,
Ah, there we go.
Oh, but still,
Still.
not bad.
So what is that?
18.
So from this maximum
22.
roll of 7.
14. Yeah. So
18, 22.
what happens is, as you sort of present yourself as, I'm a doctor, let me past, and Demetrius kind of steps to get in your way, and his brother Perseus looks you over, and he just shoves Demetrius out of the way, and he goes, "Oh, let him have a look at the old man. At least we'll know if he's crazy or not." And without further resistance, they just sort of let you pass, and Perseus follows you behind with his arms crossed, kind of waiting to see what you're going to make of the whole thing. Are you all going, or? Because
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a good roll.
Kaza's right behind Perseus. He's like, just in case. He doesn't want to
Thank
see
you.
anybody pull anything on Pandaren.
I think I'd probably better follow, if nothing else, because I'm I'm the one with the physical medicine.
Yeah, I was about to say his
Knowledge.
skills actually better than mine.
So I
Sabina
could at least feed Pendarin.
steps out as
information.
well, and Perseus goes, "Just show them to the room." And Venus and Demetrius seem suitably chastised and are sort of quietly, meekly following you or showing you where Drusus is. And he is pretty much how you were told he was. He's sat in a bed covered by sheets, shaking slightly in the cold. It's not really that cold in here, but he seems to be cold. There isn't a doctor about as far as you can see. But his eyes are wide open and there are massive great rings under them where he probably hasn't slept for days. And he slowly creaks his head towards you as he sees you come in and goes, "Perseus, Demetrius, who are these? Who are these people here?" He's about in his 90s. So, same age as Pendarin.
Don't mention Pendarin's age. Okay.
I will
Go.
greet him correctly with all correct forms for his rank and say that we have come from Rome, hearing that he has been unwell, and have brought someone to see him in the hope that we can return him to better health.
Perseus perks up at the back and goes, "Better health. He died."
And yet he
Drusus.
sits here living, young man. Not all death, not always is what appears to be death, actual death. There are those who can appear to be and yet still live. At least let us see what we may do for him, so that he may live out whatever time he has left in peace, rather than this unfortunate fear that quite obviously pervades his mind and the place around him.
Drusus looks at you and goes, I'm not going back. Not going back.
Does he appear to be breathing?
He is. It's sort
Okay.
of slow, ragged breaths. Everything about him screams exhaustion to you.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
someone
I
who's been
ascertain
awake.
if he's under some sort of curse or magical poison or something.
Yeah. You can try and
then we
do
can
that.
do a normal medicine if that's not the case.
In general, I'll just get you to. You want to do an entire ritual to sort of.
No, because at this point, I just want to figure out if he is magic. If magic is involved. If it is, then I'd have to start thinking about a ritual. Yeah. But right now, I just kind of want to figure out if that's the case. So should I just roll straight?
You can just roll the magia.
I'll start with that.
The magia is a really annoying skill
Start with
because I keep wanting to say the magia.
Oh, 4.
But then you just have to be really good at baseball.
And then a D4. 8.
8. Yeah.
And then a D2. Which I'll just do a D4 again.
Okay. So 2.
4, 5,
Eight.
6. Sorry, 8, 9,
8.
10 even.
Yeah.
10.
No, you get a faint wisp of something like, yeah, an aftertaste of maybe death and the gods and the hint of magic. There's something here
Okay.
lingering to him, but it might not have come from him. But yeah. Whatever's happened here, you'd have to investigate extensively to uncover if you wanted to really get into it.
There's definitely a magic involved here.
Not magic, says Drusus. Or at least no magic I've ever heard of. Horrible, terrible things.
And Darn, is there any way for you to get to the root of this magical problem?
Yes, but it would take time.
Every now and again, Drusus also sort of stares off at the window near him in his room. Sort of nervously
Senator.
turns his head towards it.
Senator, what is it that you gaze? What is it that you're looking for through that window? We're here to help you. The more you tell us, the more we may be able to lift this curse.
I fear them. I fear them coming back. I saw them. Never want to see them again.
Who, Senator? Of who do you speak?
Demetrius and Perseus are looking very uncomfortable as this whole conversation's going on. And Drusus says to you, I don't know if they told you, but I died. Age finally caught up with me, and my eyes closed. But as I prepared to walk off into whatever's next, I saw them outside my window, deathless things, and wraiths, and horrible screaming terrors, and fear set in me, and I refused to just lay there. At least here, I hope they can't get at me. And Sabinus butts in and says, what he says may or may not be true, but after his passing, several minutes fell before he suddenly snapped awake again, screaming in terror. And ever since, he has refused to sleep. Passed right outside my window. I saw them. There was a horn as well, a horn sounding in the distance, and then they walked right by.
And where were they headed? This army of dead.
I don't know. I didn't stay long enough to stare at.
Thank you, Senator. I think we understand now why sleep comes so poorly to you. We hope that we may help you come to rest, potentially to the rest that you truly deserve.
He
Give us
grabs
time.
hold of your arm or your sleeve, depending on whatever you're wearing, and holds on to it, looks at you, says, "Terrible horn, beware of it, and the ghostly things. It's not right, I tell you. Great tragedy will befall us, I tell you. So very tired." And he just slowly turns away and starts staring off out of the window again.
I think perhaps we should speak with his physician if we may. Sort of turning to the others three.
Whatever you think is best, Lucius.
Demetrius looks kind of cheapish. And
Yes, where is this physician that you brought in?
Perseus laughs and says, "Physician? He was dead. What need does he have of a physician? It was expected. He's been on death's door for the last half a year. We came all the way from Rome."
If he died, young man, where is his priest?
Probably run off screaming.
Well, we should probably leave him in peace for now, what peace he has. Obviously, he needs no physician, and there is none, so there's no need to speak with him. Are you willing to allow us to at least walk the estate, look across the grounds, and see if there is anything that could explain or help to explain what has happened here?
Certainly, basically you get the Roman equivalent of knock yourself out from Perseus.
Thank you. We will hope not to trouble you too long this day, for we intend to leave and return to our lodgings before the end of today. But I believe that your father has given us a great deal of help, for all that you may not believe it so.
Demetrius says he always did his best to serve Rome. As do we, you know. But this is beyond any of our understanding.
That is why we're here. It is not beyond ours. He says that, and he looks over at Pangdar, and he's like, "It's completely.
It's not
it's
beyond
way past
his."
me."
I just tries to look as impassive as possible while thinking.
Maybe.
I've got nothing.
Yeah, so you're given kind of free reign of the estate.
Pandaren, it sounds to me as if just as the legionnaires who fell outside of the Castra's walls were called back from death, it sounds like the same thing happened to the senator. Perhaps it was not targeting him. He just happens to be a victim of whatever is plaguing this region.
Certainly sounds plausible. The fact that I spoke with the soldiers, and those that fell, only those that were buried, they have seen the spectres of, and they seem to be linked to the Castra and their people. Could it be some fell power or sorcery is drawing the spirits laid within this region back for some purpose? All those that have died. This area surely has seen battles enough over the years, has seen many restless spirits, many restless deaths. One who could call on those could undoubtedly summon some great host of them. But I do not wish to know what they would intend to do with them.
Anyone who would so desecrate Pluto's domain by pulling the dead from his grasp is either mad or frighteningly powerful.
Or likely both. Titus, is it worth you taking a look around the estate, see if there is any sign of perhaps our friend of last night being here as well? It seems
Sure.
unlikely, but it may well be worth the time to see if we can find anything.
There's no harm in making sure. I'll go have a look around, and I'll just
Yeah.
kind of walk out of the room.
Titus, in that case, if that's what you're doing, your turn. Can you make a hunting roll? Or exploration? Or... yeah, something similar to that. De natura.
So total of 10.
Yeah, no, that's you do actually find some tracks. There's sort of, as you're stepping outside, something draws you to sort of that back area of the villa where Drusus's bedroom looks out over the rest of his lands in these slight rolling hills. And you think, maybe a good place to start. And you pick up on similar light footsteps around there.
So it looks again like someone's been trying to walk over their
Yeah.
previous footsteps.
Yeah. And they lead off towards the vineyard. But as you're sort of following them, you notice there's a little bushel of some herbs or something that seems to be just tucked up against the wall of the villa around roughly where Drusus's room
Do I know
is.
what the herbs are from my knowledge of nature?
Yeah. They're all kind of innocuous things, like there's some heather in there, and there's some mint, bit of thyme and things like that. It's just this little...
So nothing I would assume is questionable, but
Unusual
It's
bundled together and
unusual. Yeah, it's
I have them
unusual that
bundled
they're all
anyway.
bundled together. It's clearly not something you would cook with or something like that. It seems like someone's just made this little...
yeah, I mean, I'll take a mental note of what's there, and so I can tell people that understand the more mystic arts. But I'll kind of follow the tracks a little bit and see where they lead to.
Yeah, it seems to lead off into the vineyards, sort of away from the road and actually into the rows of vineyards.
From like almost like a compass direction, is that in roughly the same direction as where we came from? Where the castor was?
It's in a similar direction, yeah, but more cross country.
But in roughly that direction. So
Yeah.
in theory, whatever it was could be somewhere in between the two locations, potentially.
Yeah, that could possibly be the case.
Okay, well, I'm not going to follow it too far. How big is the bushel of herbs? Is it quite large? Is it quite small?
It's just something
like
sort of that
football
kind of
sized.
size. Yeah, just sort of that
Small.
wide, and just it was only because you were paying such close attention to this track of footprints, and basically you got 2 successes. That
Alright, in which case
you
I'll pick
noticed it.
up.
Yeah.
Just kind of pick it up and walk it back towards the house, the villa.
Yeah. Okay. Back inside, what was everyone else planning on doing before Titus returns?
So Casso is he's basically, I mean, he is not an investigator. He is the pointy end of the spear, so to speak. So he feels a little out of sorts at this point. So he is essentially just set himself up as a bodyguard for Lucius and Pandaren, just in case anything unexpected happens here. And so he's just watching his friends to make sure that that they're protected.
Yeah.
Are the two sons still in the room?
Yeah, they're sort of milling around, waiting to see what you lot are gonna do next.
Well, I'll turn around and ask him. So this isn't the first strange encounter I've had this day. With magic. What do you two know about wraiths, ghosts, strange, dark creatures wandering these parts at night?
Beatrice goes, that's all surely just all stories and gossip, and I mean,
what have you
perhaps
heard?
Ancestral spirit or some
Ancestral
such
spirits, huh?
that I mean, they're just, aren't they things you call to in shrines and hope they'll bless you, or most
So
of
you
it's
haven't seen-
nonsense, isn't it?
Is he
And
telling the
Perseus
truth?
says most of what we know about it we've just been told. They look quite truthful. You could try and see if they know more than they're letting on, or
I could try. I could try. I think that's definitely gonna have to be on my.
yeah,
yeah.
it's
that
going to
won't
be
fancy.
the Societate roll.
I do
Society. You're kind of trying to read them.
D6 then. No, 1.
Yeah, as far as you're concerned,
Alright,
they
brilliant.
look very truthful.
Stroke my beard thoughtfully as I, I am up. Okay. Is there a temple in these parts?
Closest one's back in Polla.
Do you not have a temple
mean-
to your household gods?
Well, we have the shrine, yeah, but
You only have the one shrine on your estate.
yes. I mean, it's all a bit silly, isn't it? Demetrius kind of conspiratorially whispers.
I will cough to myself and kind of look around at the others, thinking, did he just say that out loud? But I'm not. I will refrain from knocking him on the head with my cudgel.
Show some respect.
Don't be silly. Show some respect to your gods.
I will interject as well. It is never wise to reject outright that which you cannot completely disprove. It is undoubtedly true that the gods are with us,
or comprehend.
but perhaps they may not speak to all, and they may not speak to many, but it seems safe to say that they certainly have their actions in the world, and it is best not to defy their existence. That is perhaps not sensible. However, we know that such strange things discomfort those that they come into contact with, and you have certainly encountered and experienced most unsettling things. If you'll allow me, I will make a short examination of your father, and we will then not trespass too much further on your hospitality. Please, there is no need for you to stay here while I examine him. He will be quite safe. As you have said yourself, he is unexpectedly still with us, and I'm sure will continue to be for some time yet. Pendaran, would you mind staying? Casa,
course.
perhaps you would go with the good senator's sons and see if you can locate Titus.
As you wish.
Demetrius seems like he's gonna object, but Perseus kind of cuts him off again and goes, oh, just let them about their work. What's the worst that can happen? Not gonna magically die in this time, is he? And they shuffle out with Casa into the rest of the villa. Is Aleko going to go look for Titus outside, or are you staying?
He would just head outside of the villa and just be scanning the area. He knows Titus will come back of his own accord. He's not going to go looking for him.
So yeah, you two will meet up there roughly.
If I give him a quick medical examination,
Yeah.
do you want me to actually? Shall I roll that
Yeah,
one?
you can roll for that.
See if I can work out what he's supposed to be dying of and hasn't yet, or hasn't yet. So 17. So D10, I suppose D10, D4, and D3.
Yeah.
Not a great start. Probably better than it had any right to be, considering the start. So 10.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be dying of any specific thing. It's, to your senses, just the combination of the things that eventually kill you as you reach old age. He's a bit into his 90s now. It's a very good life, even for a senator.
Yeah. So
But
he's
he isn't dead.
There's
from
nothing
what you
obviously
can
wrong with
tell.
him, but he's just getting old. And if he
Yeah.
died, then he is living on pure willpower to keep his body going.
The strange thing about it is, like his heart rate is almost half what you would imagine for a normal person. Even lying down, I mean, it's very slow.
Especially for someone who's apparently in permanent fear.
Yeah,
You'd
his
expect it to be running
breathing
faster.
is ragged, but it's also like very measured and slow. It's sort of big sucking breaths, but there's a cadence to it as well. And also, he seems to be very calm in a way for someone who is clearly also so terrified and also died at some point and came back.
Yeah.
It does give you a sense that, maybe he came back on pure willpower alone out of terror and is now refusing to die purely because he doesn't want to see whatever that was again.
Pandaren, do you feel that there is anything further that it is worth you doing here? Or do you believe that he has told us all?
He's told us all he can tell. If we, with further examination and consultation with the correct omens and portents, perhaps I will be able to lift whatever magical ailment is upon him. But
We
this
know
will
what
take-
he is. We know what
this
he
will
has
take
seen.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
we know what he is. If we want to release him of this,
Then we
can
find the
do
root
that.
cause.
that would perhaps be a simpler solution.
Then I suggest we rejoin the others and look to head back. We have several hours of travel still.
Yeah. You find Titus and Aleko outside with the two senators' two sons and the estate manager, a couple of bodyguards. Perseus turns to you as you come outside and goes, "So, will he live?"
He certainly has no wish to die, and for the moment, that is possibly the best that can be said for him.
Well, thank you for stopping by, I suppose. Barley,
Thank you for your hospitality and apologize for any unsettling, if we have unsettled the household further than it has already been done so. It was not our intent to make things worse, but we believe that you have helped us considerably.
I think it would have been difficult for you to unsettle us further than we've already been unsettled.
Well, we hope to put this to right soon, and perhaps your lives will return to something more closely resembling normal.
That would indeed be rather nice, but I'm not sure how we're meant to explain this back in Rome.
I would suggest that keep it simple. Your father was ill, you believed him dead, but the old man had far more strength than it was believed. And for the moment, he lives on, but he remains ill. We will deal and explain in Rome with the more unusual elements of your father's case, and only to those that need to know. Otherwise, it is simplest to keep things as easy as possible for those around, for those in Rome to understand.
Okay. If you need anything further from us whilst you're here, let us know. We're at your disposal.
Thank you.
Well, my friends, shall we return to the Castra for the evening?
I think that would be best. We
Indeed.
have some
Who's up
distance to
front?
go.
Whilst you're returning to the Castra.
I mean, that would probably be
Not me.
It would either be Casa at the front or Casa right behind Titus if Titus was,
Yeah, I mean, it depends if
observer.
I'm back, I suppose. If I'm back, then me, I guess.
Well, if we're heading back to the Castra, if we
Yeah,
haven't
you're
found
all
you,
sort of together. Yeah,
Oh,
together
right.
now. And as you're walking away, you have time to explain everything you've found.
Probably me.
Yeah. So you're at the front.
As much as I don't want to be, because I know what that's like.
But yeah, Casa would be close behind. I mean, he
But
wouldn't.
basically, is it like that on the map?
Yep, that's pretty.
Yeah, probably fairly accurate.
I will transition to the map for the people at home before we finish up for the evening. And yeah, whoever's at the front can give me I believe it's a sensibilitas roll. So Titus.
A
Also realise I
sensibilitas.
forgot to put the roll
Virtue.
table bit up at. Yeah, it's a virtue rather than.
Just all right. Ah, 12 maximum.
Whoa!
You can roll again.
Oh, not bad. 21 from my stat of 12.
As you're walking, you can hear kind of cracks of twigs and things on the floor. You're almost certain straight away that you heard about 3 footsteps. You clocked them immediately with this amazing 21 roll. And so you're rather unsurprised when you start to hear them converging from 3 sides towards you. So
Yeah,
I'm going to say
that the arrow will start getting knocked, and assuming
I'm going
Gus
to
has
say
been with me long enough to know exactly what's happening.
with a roll like that, rather than them getting a surprise on you, you're going to get the upper hand on them as you see these 3 figures darting out of the vineyards towards you. Sicker knives in hand, and they're just rushing forwards, completely unaware that you've already realised they're there. And with that, I think we'll leave it for tonight.
Seems a good place to end.
Yeah. So there we go. Thank you everyone at home for joining us, and thank you to my wonderful players. As you know, without it, it's just me talking for 2 hours. That would be less fun.
Thank you, Lewis.
Hope you enjoyed it so far, and we'll find out what's going on next time on Garblag Games. Good night. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and join us on Discord.
What's happening tomorrow?
Oh, what is happening tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
you normally know this stuff.
Yep, we've got Dune Modifius' 2D20 tomorrow at 9 p.m. GMT, and then at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for those in the U.S. we have got Octun Cthulhu Modifius' 2D20, the Romanian Imperative, as we punch Nazis and steal Zeppelins. And then I think on Friday, I don't know, Roger, are we starting The Enemy Within on Friday?
Don't think it's being streamed this Friday. I think that's our practice run.
Okay. So Friday may be Monster of the Week.
I think Friday is Monster of the Week. Isn't Nye running it this week, I believe?
It is possible. Or I believe so, yep. And that's the rest of the week on Garblag Games.
Followed by looping background to Monday. Is there anything on Mondays?
Not at the moment,
so
I don't think.
Tuesday,
Sometimes
then we've got Pathfinder at 9 p.m. GMT.
Yeah.
And I think that covers it. Don't forget to join us on Discord and all of the various socials.
There you go. Thank you everyone for watching, and from us, good night. Bye.
Or good afternoon. If
or
you're
good
watching
afternoon, yeah, true. So whatever time zone you're in, enjoy the rest of whatever day is to come or has just ended.
Or if it's tomorrow, if you're Australian.
Or if it's tomorrow, have a nice day then as well. Bye.
Cheers.